Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Chris again with Budget Photographer here on YouTube. So today I'm going to talk about a trigger and an external flash or off-the-camera flash. Obviously, these are budget products, so there are some limitations to what they can do, but we'll go ahead and get right into it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the actual remote trigger. All right. So this fits in your camera's hot shoe, and this one here is made by a company called Wansen. I got this off of eBay for probably about $15, and it came with the trigger, and then what you may or may not be able to see right here is the actual receiver. This all works off of AA batteries. So you go ahead and you put your batteries in there and you take it with you on location. It's a 4-channel receiver and trigger, so you can get a good amount of channels on here. So if you're in an area where there's other triggers being used, just try and find a channel that nobody's using. But I probably wouldn't use this in an area where other people are using triggers because it'll confuse it. It may not connect properly. So my suggestion to you is use this in a small studio or a small area, somewhere where you can control how many signals are being sent. But for $15, the functionality that you get out of it is well worth it. Now you can go out and buy a pocket wizard and just have phenomenal control over all that stuff, but that's not stuff that I'm going to be reviewing on this channel because, one, I can't afford it, and two, I like the challenge of finding the cheaper equipment to see if I can get the same result as some of the professional equipment, and what the limitations really are. So got my Nikon D5200 18 to 55 millimeter lens on here right now, but like I said, it connects to the hot shoe of the camera, and then you can just twist it down. And once it's connected to the camera, it actually feeds off of the power on the camera. So if you want to go ahead and give it a test, there's a button on top of the transmitter. If you push it, you can see that the flash is going off. So, and it works perfectly fine. So when you go ahead and you take a picture, I'm just going to go ahead and focus in on my microphone over here. Go ahead and take that off. I guess it helps to have a SD card in your camera when you try and take a picture. But as you can see, it fires. This works with any kind of flash, and as you can see, I'm using a tripod to actually hold my my flash up. Because I don't have a dedicated light stand that I can hook this into a hot shoe. So the receiver, it actually has 2 different ways that you can connect it to the actual to the stand or the tripod. So the first way is obviously going to be connecting it through the little screw out the bottom. That's how I use mine because I have a good amount of tripods, so why not, right? But the other way is this is a hot shoe mount on the bottom here, so you can put that into a light stand hot shoe mount and it's good to go. So that's that. Now the cool thing is, you may say, well, why do I need to have a flash, an external flash, off of my camera? And mainly if you're doing anything inside of a room where you want to get like a different camera angle, if you're doing portraits of people and you want the light to come from a different angle, you can control where the light comes from just by taking your flash off the camera and even holding it over wherever they might be, and then take your snap your picture, and you control where the light is coming from. So that's one cool thing. The other thing is, if you're going to be doing like a composition for real estate photography or interior design photography, and you want to highlight all kinds of different things inside of the room, having the trigger is really going to help you set that off. The trigger, along with the DSLR remote app, if you aren't familiar with that, you can check out my video on that. They work really well. You can just walk around and put the flash gun on whatever you want to have illuminated in the picture, snap the picture, and then just mask yourself out in Photoshop with a version of you not in that area when you take the picture. So there's, the possibility is pretty much endless when it comes to using a flash gun with a wireless remote. Now, you can obviously get a wired trigger, but which this actually has the feature for the optical trigger on the side here, and then on the side of the transmitter, you can plug it in and you can transmit your photos, or trigger this through that, especially if you're in an area where more than 4 channels are being used. Now, on another topic, the flash that I'm using here, this is not a very expensive flash. I think I picked this up from Best Buy for probably about $30, if that. It may have only been $20, but it is a Sunpack DigiFlash 3000. It sounds real cheap, right? But I'll tell you, I've used this in a lot of low light events. I've used this flash right here on the camera and off the camera to photograph events where I would normally have to bump up my ISO. Instead, I just went ahead and bounced the flash. And if I ever had to put the flash directly onto someone to illuminate their face, I use this softbox. This softbox I got for about $7 at Best Buy, and it's just a rocket flash or rocket fish sunbox softbox. And all you have to do is pull it across and put it inside of the box. Put your flash inside of there, and whenever you take your pictures or snap, it'll give a nice diffused look, and everything works well. So this is a mobile setup that you can get for less than $100 and have the capability of some of the professionals out there. Now, yes, you are going to lose some quality. This is not a TTL lens, and this is also not not a lens, but a TTL flash, and you also can't change the power on this flash. This is just set the way it is. Whenever I gauge it inside of Lightroom, I get about 1.5 stops of light to 2 stops, depending on where I bounce the flash from. But if I go directly onto a subject, I get about 2.5 to 2 stops in the camera, based off of what my settings are. But everything will be different for you, depending on whatever you get. But so what does that mean? Should you get one of these things? If you need a flash, yes. It doesn't, sometimes getting wrapped up in the professional stuff and the really expensive stuff, you really lose out on a lot of time because you don't think you can do whatever everyone else is doing. So my recommendation is just go with the cheap stuff. Figure out, work your technique, especially if you're just a hobbyist, hobby photographer like myself, or just every now and then freelance photographer where someone's like, hey, I'll pay you $50 if you come and shoot this event for me. Why spend thousands of dollars on equipment when you can get the same result, or a pretty close, pretty similar result for half the price, or even a fraction of the price. So with that being said, that concludes this episode of Budget Photographer. Again, my name is Chris Scott, and I'd really appreciate it if you guys rate, comment, and subscribe. I got some more information coming, like Lightroom on the Android tablets. Huge deal. It works out great. So I have a video of that showing you what I do when I'm on location. And then also the hi-fi card, being able to transfer your photos directly to a smartphone or a tablet just for, you know, a good reference. Obviously, you're not going to be doing all your editing on there, but if you put it onto a tablet running through Lightroom, you know, you can get some pretty decent edits, especially if, you know, you're just trying to pass off a picture real quick. You can shoot in a JPEG format, pass it off to your tablet, run it through Lightroom, do some tonal adjustments, you know, add a little bit of vibrance, even a little bit of healing brush action, and then you can send it off and never even have to touch a legit computer. Alright, so again, rate, comment, and subscribe, and that concludes this episode. Peace.